Alright class, so far today we've been learning about a biography. Well, now I'm going to read you a short passage from a biography about Martin Luther King Jr. And I want you to, once I read part of the passage, I want you and your partner to stop and discuss and ask what you think some of the main ideas are and some of the supporting details are. So is everybody ready? Okay. As a boy, Martin Luther King Jr. was born in Atlanta, Georgia on January 15, 1929. He grew up in a Baptist church where his mother was an organist and his father was the minister. When he was 6 and started school, he had 2 neighbor friends, but he was not allowed to play with them because he was white. And that left a lasting impression on him all his life. When he was growing up, he experienced racial discrimination all around him. Black people could only live in black neighborhoods, black children could only go to black schools, and black people could not use the white restrooms or white drinking fountains, and black people were expected to sit in the back of the buses and give their seats to white people when there were no empty seats. So now I want you to stop, and I want you to talk with your partner and ask what you think some of the main ideas and supporting details about Martin Luther King are in this biography. So, alright, I'm going to give you a minute, and then once that minute's up, I will ask you what you think some of the main ideas are. Okay? Now what do you think some of the main ideas are? Did he grew up in the South and his parents were very strict? Okay. And probably some supporting details I would say was that, growing up he seemed like he was discriminated against. Just not him, his entire family, for their entire life because they were colored. Alright? Well, now we're going to move on. So, when he was growing up, his parents had firm rules for their family. Martin and his brother and sister always had to be home for dinner to share in their family discussions, and they always had to treat each other with respect. He was a sensitive boy who hated violence in any form and preferred to avoid unpleasant situations whenever possible. Once, when a white woman in a store accused him of stepping on her foot and slapped him, he said nothing and just left the store. He had his share of fights as a young boy, but he never used his fists. He did not like to fight at all, and if he could talk his opponent out of fighting, and if it came down to physical combat, he would say, "Let's go on the grass," because he was an excellent wrestler. So now stop and ask your partner, what do you think the main idea of this part of the passage is? Okay? I would say that this main idea is that he was a sensitive boy because his parents were growing up, and he got into a lot of skirmishes when he was growing up. So does anybody else have anything to add to that? Okay? Well, we're going to continue on. So, he always loved big words and had a remarkable speaking vocabulary. As an 11th grader, he entered an oral vocal contest in Vastolia, Georgia, where his speech won a prize. But after the contest, his teacher and he had to stand up on the bus all the way back home because they were not allowed to sit on the bus because it was full of white people. See, kind of links back to before. At the beginning of this passage, we're talking about discrimination. It comes back to discrimination. So when he was 15, he passed the administration exam and enrolled at Morehouse College in Atlanta in an all-male, all-black college and the alma mater of both his father and grandfather. So now, while at Morehouse, he was deeply influenced by Benjamin Mays, the president, whose dignified preaching style was quite unlike the highly emotional style of Martin's father. After graduating from Morehouse, he attended Pennsylvania's Crowser Theological Seminary, where he graduated at the top of his class with a bachelor's degree in divinity and a scholarship to the graduate school of his choice. So now, after earning his doctorate at Boston University, he returned to the South to begin his ministry in Montgomery, Alabama. So now, what do you think was really important to him? What do you think the main idea is? Okay, good. The main idea is that he looked up to a lot of colored people like himself that were before him. Good. Well, what do you think a good supporting detail? I would say a good supporting detail would be is that he looked up to people like Benjamin Mays, who was the president at the time. So does anybody else have anything to add to that? No? Okay. So after earning his doctorate degree, all his life he had been inspired by such black people such as Harriet Tubman, Nat Turner, Fred Douglass, and dreamed about also helping his people the way they had. He combined the teachings of Jesus, who advocated loving your enemy, the teachings of Mahatma Gandhi, who advocated nonviolence rebellion against unjust causes, and the teachings of Henry David Thoreau, who advocated civil disobedience when justified by the situation. And he became the leader of a civil rights movement based on the nonviolent resistance. As he became increasingly more active in the working for social reform, he led sit-ins, pray-ins, lobbyists, boycotts, marches, and other nonviolent demonstrations for civil rights. He also organized voter registration and drivers and delivered inspiring speeches throughout the country. So now, what would be a good detail for that? I would say a good detail would be that because he was discriminated against, he wanted to boycott in a non-peaceful or non-violent way, and he wanted to show this by participating in boycott stand-ins. So now, "We Shall Overcome" was adopted as the freedom movement song, and in 1963, he led the Civil Rights March on Washington with 250,000 people, more than half of them white. He called this march the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of the nation. He delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, and despite threats to his life, he continued his work for the dream of equality and justice. Time magazine named him Man of the Year, and his picture was on the cover on January 1964, the second black man to be honored. On July 2nd, 1964, the Civil Rights Bill, which he and other black leaders helped draft, was passed and became law. That same year, he was also awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his work in race relations, the youngest person, the third black person, and the 12th American person to be honored. So, does anybody know what probably the main idea and supporting details of this part is? Yep, probably because of his work, he was able to overcome his discrimination, and he led a civil rights movement, which caused a huge change in the legal system in America. So anybody else have anything else to add? Okay. After his assassination on April 4th, 1968 in Memphis, Tennessee, people came from all over the world to attend his funeral. Both our country and the world honored this young black minister as no private citizen has ever been honored. American flags and flags of the United Nations flew at half-staff in tribute to a man who dedicated his life trying to help people. Even after his death, his words and examples continued to inspire people, and now we celebrate a national holiday in honor, Martin Luther King Day. Alright, so does anybody know what the overall main idea of this passage is, not the small ones? I would say that the overall main idea would be that Martin Luther King, as shy as he was, and as strict as his parents were, and when he was discriminated against, grew up to be a great man who changed America. Does anybody else have anything else? Nothing? Alright, well now we're going to move on to the next passage of the biography lesson.